So let's go ahead and start with the Big 12. Chase, who do you have in the Big 12 championship?
The Big 12 championship. I've got Texas versus Texas Tech.
Really,
Really?
Battle of Texas.
Yes. The red, and then I have the Horns winning it.
Not surprising at all. Not surprising at all. Question: do you have Texas? We're not doing records, but do you have Texas going undefeated?
Yes.
Listen, I mean yeah, I mean that. So honestly, so there's two hype trains, right? There is a Texas Tech hype train, like all of a sudden coming out of the woodworks that Texas Tech is going to be competitive, which would be super fun. And then obviously Texas, right? Texas is supposed to be like the best team and ever, and they're going to come in and win and all this different stuff. And listen, the hype train is on there. Feel free to ride it if you want. I'm definitely going to be out on that hype train. So walk us through it? How did you get to Texas and Texas Tech?
Yeah, so I don't want to cover Texas too much and spoil some things, but I really like Texas this year. We talked about it during our preseason rankings. I think Texas being outside the top 10 is a little bit shabby. I really like what they've got. I think they've got to finally the QB there, right? And then they have the backup QB because last year I think they could have made some noise. The QB got hurt. They kind of fell off. They didn't have the backup, right? Hudson Card wasn't it. Now they have Arch Manning in case Quinn Ewers goes out. I think both those guys will be former first round picks. And I just like they finally get back in recruiting. They've been top 10 in recruiting the past couple of years. They've got the weapons. I think it's Xavier Worthy, that wide receiver. That dude's a stud. He balled out last year with Hudson Card. I can't wait to see a full year with Quentin Ewers. And in the Big 12, the defense doesn't, it's more about offense than defense. So I think their defense is better than a lot of people give them credit for, but I don't think it really matters in the Big 12.
Yeah, no, for playing defense, that's for sure. So interesting. So Texas and then Texas Tech. So they'll play each other at the last game of the season, and then turn around and play each other again for the conference championship. Then that would be crazy. But yeah, I mean, yeah, interesting. So I'll give you my predictions here for the big. You had Texas winning. You said.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you said they go undefeated. Yeah. I've listen. Big 12. I think for me, Big 12. This was the hardest conference championship to predict when I was doing this. I don't know about you, but for me, I can see this going a lot of different ways, and I'm throwing caution to the wind. And you're bear with me on this, okay? I've got it broken down, but I'm going with the reigning Big 12 championships. I think K-State makes it back. And then I'm going surprising with the Boomer Sooners, the Oklahoma Sooners in the Big 12 championship. So Oklahoma versus Kansas State. And I've got Kansas State winning the conference championship again. Real quick, some thoughts on why I chose those teams. So Oklahoma was bad last year, yes. But they have solid pieces there. It was Coach Venerable's first season back. There was a lot of shakeup that happened when Lincoln Riley left, right? Took a lot of players with them. So having to come in, fill that void, obviously they weren't able to fill it in just 1 year, right? But due to some transfers, due to some, new signing and stuff, they've got better. They're going to be better on defense. That was their Achilles heel, right, on defense. They lost a lot of one-score games. And so they can turn that around by playing better defense. Dylan Gabriels is a stud. I think he's very underrated, and you have to know that he's got talent because Lincoln Riley initially was the one who brought him in, right? So we know Lincoln Riley, how he is with quarterbacks. He saw something in him and brought him in, right, to be the successor for Caleb Williams eventually. Obviously, he got up in there now because Caleb Williams left to USC. But when you take a look at their schedule is it's one of the easiest schedules ever for a Power 5 conference. The hardest game that they have is going to be against Texas, which I will up and admit I would predict they lose that game, right? I'm not, like I said, I'm not big on Texas just because they do this every year. I'm not buying into it until I see it. Right. It's the same thing with the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL. Like I just need to see it happen before I get in on the hype train. Like, I have to see it. But I am not bold enough to say that Oklahoma can beat Texas. We'll see what happens when they get there. But they start off with Arkansas State, SMU, Tulsa, Cincinnati, and then Iowa State. So they could easily get to Texas week 6, being 5-0, and that could be their first loss. And they follow up with UCF, KU, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, BYU, and then finish the game with TCU. So I could easily see them going 10-2 with this schedule. Right, I think Oklahoma State's going to be a tough team. I think even TCU still might be a tough team. I'm not predicting big things from them, obviously with all that they're losing. But I like Sonny Dykes as the head coach. I think that he can still get them to play well and play games. And I don't think the Sooners are going to be that better than everybody. But I think that they'll have the players in another year in the system with Venables, and their defense will be better for them to be able to win those games, those close games that they lost last year, right? Similar to what the Vikings did in the NFL, where the year before they lost all the close games. Last year they won all the close games. I'm predicting a similar turnaround for the Sooners. And then with Kansas State, right, they kind of have a similar type of schedule where the hardest teams they play is Texas. They play Texas as well. They play TCU, and then maybe Texas Tech, right, depending on how Texas Tech shakes out. But K-State is just always in it. They're scrappy. They can play. They play to win. They're competitive, and I love watching them play. So it's not going to be easy to come out of the Big 12 this year. But I'm predicting that the Oklahoma Sooners will have a nice little send off by at least making the conference championship. But I think K-State just has more to be able to pull off the win, and so that's why I've got Oklahoma versus K-State, and K-State coming out on top.
Yeah, no, I don't mind that at all. I almost put Oklahoma in. I think Texas Tech, they've got a couple. They play Oregon, and I don't think they beat Oregon. But then they play 2 or 3 other ranked teams that I think they can win besides Texas. So I think they get some steam rolling in. I think they might have some ranked wins, and that's how they do tiebreakers in the Big 12 because that's what they do. I don't know. The Big 12 is weird. They don't have conferences. So I think that's what puts them over, but I don't mind that Oklahoma pick at all. And then K-State, right? They play for Bill Self. He's not the coach there anymore, but he's still his aura. They got the stadium named after him. And it's just, it's a place that they just want to win so bad. And they seem like they're always just a couple pieces away during these games, right? You're watching, you're like, man, this could be a really good team if they could just figure this out. And then the next game, they figure it out, and then it's something else. It's like they're not complete ever. It's a fun team to watch, but sometimes a little irritating, those Wildcats. But I don't mind either one of those.